Good evening and welcome to the March 12, 2018 meeting of the Florissant City Council. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hankey. Here. Pagano.
Here.
Parson. Present. Cyan. Here. Lee. Jones. Here. Egan.
He's not. He's left.
Oh, so he's gone.
He's gone.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just excused.
Here. And Shoulder.
Here.
Right now, I would like to have a moment of silence, but I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Caputa.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, this past week or two, we lost a former councilman, former state rep from the district, man by the name of Keith English. He meant a lot to the city. He was a very dedicated citizen, very good elected official. I think he represented our city well. I think we need a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes of February 12, 2018? Hearing none, Councilman Parson moves to approve the minutes, seconded by Mr. Hankey. All in favor? Aye. The meeting minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is hearing from citizens. This is a time to speak to the council on any issue not necessarily on the agenda this evening. Please remember that this is not a question and answer period, but we'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting. If you're here for a public hearing, we will discuss that at public hearing time. We have Kevin O'Donnell. Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Kevin O'Donnell, 512 Rancho Lane, Florissant, Missouri, 63031. It was on Wednesday, February 28th that I received the sad and tragic news regarding Keith English. Very many of Keith's friends expressed their shock and disbelief that such a man with vibrancy for Florissant and North County could be gone. Keith wasn't only a 2 2/3 term city councilman and a Missouri state representative for the 68th district. He was also involved in the Florissant youth and community. Not many realize the things he did for Florissant before he entered the race for election for Florissant's Ward 4. One thing that really impressed me was the restoration of the historical log cabin at Water Tower Park at Washington and New Florissant Road. He and the local Boy Scouts were responsible for the addition of the porch on the old cabin. He did community service for his residents who needed help in their personal lives, as well as attaining a garage door for a resident who was unable to afford one. He worked as an organizer and had drive to make things happen in Florissant. Yet, I waited day by day for some kind of press release from the city or a notice on the city's website from the mayor, from one of the council people, somebody, but I have no praise for any elected official in the city of Florissant. I'm ashamed of the mayors and the city council members who refused to acknowledge the tragic death of Keith English. One councilman has the audacity to refer to me as a hater. Yet, this same hater has hypocritically responded, or not responded, in what I'm sure would call out myself as being a hater. To the councilman who accused me of being a hater while pointing your finger at me, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. It will be 2 weeks on March 14th, which is Wednesday, day after tomorrow, that I got the news of Keith English. 2 weeks. And it was so sad, but not one word was issued by the city's elected officials. Nothing on the website, no letters sent. Not one of Keith's former Ward 4 councilmen even commented on Facebook about it. Everybody talked about it. I did, everybody did. Even Kelly, Keith's wife. It's just a shame. It's a shame for the city. It's a shame for this mayor. It's a shame for all of you, especially you, Mayor Schneider. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Schneider?
Yeah, I ordinarily don't comment at this point in time, but we all share your grief, Kevin, and we flew the flags at half-mast on Thursday and Friday as soon as we found out, and then we flew them the entire next week. And I also arranged to have the Nature Lodge be used by their family for a memorial celebration. And so we're grieving just as much as anybody else.
You're grieving, but you posted about the CBs, that's all. You know, I'm leaving, like I said in January, I'm not coming back to the council meeting, but I did tonight for Keith, to stand up for him. Thank you.
Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. O'Donnell? I gave you the respect to listen. You can give us, exactly, but you are accusing us of something that is not true. I know that Mr. Caputa has been in the works with many of his residents, coming up with exactly what they want to do as a memorial to Mr. English. Him and I have talked about it. I understand that they are having a memorial service.
Yes, there are.
As the mayor said, we are already getting something together for that, so it's not that we are not working on this.
This is not a question and answer session. I gave my 3 minutes.
I am just saying, if you're going to sit here and bash, and I gave the respect, I expect the same respect back. So until you know the facts of what goes on this council, I would appreciate you not coming up and bashing me, the rest of the council, or the mayor when you simply do not know the facts. So that's it. We're going to get to the next speaker. So thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. I'm sorry you won't be attending anymore.
Well, I told you that in January because
I
you take 3 readings every meeting.
I know. Diane Livingston. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Diane Livingston. We own a home at 855 Lilac since 1959. My daughter resides there at this time. My son coaches boys lacrosse in North County. It's a club sport. It is called Hazelwood Lacrosse, but it is club sport. It's all of North County. He's been doing that for about 10 years. He started back in 1995 with Hazelwood. He has fought and supported lacrosse across the state for all those years. He was even a state officer. 7 of 10 seniors from last year's team are actually attending college at this point, many of them on scholarships because of lacrosse. I was very disheartened with Hazelwood and I guess the leadership mostly, because they are not allowed now. Lacrosse is not being allowed in Hazelwood parks at this moment. They were playing, they had a permit to play in Hazelwood parks. They played up in St. Ferdinand Park, up in the upper field. This would have been the 3rd season there. Have done tournaments from teams all across the state coming to Florissant. Week before last, they were told on a Tuesday that they could not play anymore, that lacrosse is not being allowed to play in Florissant parks. It's the middle of the season. They were 1 week out from their first game, so they had to scramble to find another place to play. They did find a place. They were informed that last April, well, they were said at the end of last season, I found out today it was April, that a lawnmower threw up a lacrosse ball and went into a house. Went through the window and into the wall. And through the wall, I said that. That's true, it was a freak accident. They have been more diligent of picking up their balls. They have found half a baseball. They have found golf balls. They found all kinds of things when they're picking up their lacrosse balls. So I think it's kind of a random choosing of which sports to be played. Does that mean baseball and softball maybe won't be played in the future? I called my councilman who told me to call Andy in the mayor's office. He called me back. He's a very nice gentleman. He said he would investigate. Mr. Schmidt called me this morning from the Parks Department. Very nice gentleman, answered my questions. That's how I found out it was April. I just want to let the people of Florissant know that the Florissant parks are off limits to lacrosse, boys, girls, whomever. It won't be posted, so I don't know how that's communicated with your people. That I couldn't find anything on the Florissant website that said lacrosse is not allowed in parks anymore, and I believe it was just made from the administration. So I'm kind of disappointed because it is a very good way for kids to be out playing, and I appreciate St. Sabina for allowing them to move in the middle of the season. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is communications, of which there are none. We will move on to public hearings. We have public hearing number 18-03010.
Notice is hereby given that.
Oops. There's one.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the City Council of Florissant, Missouri, in Council Chambers, 955 Rue St. Francois, on Monday, March 12, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition: to amend the zoning code to allow for cigar bars in the HB Historic Business District. Citizens and parties of interest will have an opportunity to be heard at said public hearing. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing or calling 839-7630 or TDD 839-5142.
Thank you. Is the petitioner present? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Bolson. I live at 132 Florissant. Hi.
Hi. You're going to just discuss what we're just... Was there something that he was going to say on this public hearing? Just tell us what's going on?
Well, we're here tonight to change the zoning code in the historic district to allow for cigar bars. And to tell you about our business, we started this business as a cocktail lounge in the historic district, and now we want to change the coding, the zoning code there, to make it a cigar bar in that district. And that's where we are tonight.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
I'm happy to provide some background on this, and unfortunately it appears there's confusion about the city's authority to allow a cigar bar, so I'm going to have to sort of give you a long history of that. Some of you may recall that St. Louis County adopted what's referred to as the Clean Air Act. I believe that was in 2010. And then it was revised in 2011. Their authority under the Clean Air Act is based upon a state statute that allows St. Louis County to regulate legislation that affects public health. You may recall that the whole sanitation process where districts were created was fully premised upon public health and the collection of sanitation. So when the Clean Air Act was adopted by St. Louis County, the premise was that St. Louis County can come into the city of Florissant or any city within St. Louis County and regulate and enforce their Clean Air Act because it affects public health and safety. I know several cities challenged that authority. It didn't go to the Court of Appeals, but I know that it was addressed in St. Louis County. And St. Louis County determined that a judge in St. Louis County determined that the Clean Air Act does fall within that piece of legislation, and St. Louis County can enforce its Clean Air Act within the city limits of the city of Florissant. Now, a number of cities adopted their own Clean Air Act, which we are certainly entitled to do, but a city's adoption of a Clean Air Act cannot be less restrictive than St. Louis County's. For example, as we all know, bars and restaurants are no longer allowed to have smoking within bars and restaurants. Florissant doesn't have a Clean Air Act, but if you adopted a Clean Air Act and tried to exempt that, in other words, allow smoking in public buildings, allowed smoking in bars and restaurants, the answer is you can do that, but St. Louis County has every authority to come into the city of Florissant and issue citations and basically shut the business down. Now, I know that there's been some confusion about allowing cigar bars, so at Councilmember Henke's request, I did contact St. Louis County to make sure that I was clear about this, and I'll go all the way back to 2012. I talked to Bob Grant, an associate county councilor, back in 2012 about this precise issue. At that point in time, it was abundantly clear to Bob and to me that St. Louis County had every authority to go into any municipality. And when I was talking to him, candidly, I was talking to him on behalf of the city of Kirkwood, that I also represent. And Kirkwood's adoption of a Clean Air Act, because they wanted to deviate from St. Louis County's, and the answer was you can, but St. Louis County will enforce their own act. So it would be basically an exercise in futility. So we'll fast forward in 2000, well, not that fast, we'll go to 2012. It's either 2011 or 2012, St. Louis County amended its Clean Air Act to prohibit smoking in cigar bars, except for those cigar bars that existed prior to the amendment, which I believe was 2011, might be 2012. So as far as St. Louis County is concerned, there can be no additional cigar bars allowed. It violates the Clean Air Act. Now, I know I talked to the county councilor, Peter Crane. I talked to Mike Schuman, an assistant county councilor, and I talked to Nichelle Bogan, and I think, Mr. Bolson, you talked with her. She's
Yes, I've talked to her several times.
Very impressed with you.
Yes, she is.
She is.
Thank you.
And she talked with Phil as well. And I think she probably told you, as she told Phil, that if the city of Florissant, and this is her email, does in fact change its zoning use to allow an entity we discussed, i.e. smoke and sip, to open as a cigar bar within your city, I have no authority to address such a matter. If you allow a cigar bar within your city, my office has no say in that matter. And that's a true statement, but her office is involved in the issuance of a liquor license. She's not involved in the Department of Health, which is
But
a separate...
she issues the smoking certificates.
She will issue a certificate, but the Department of Health, according to this county councilor, will in fact enforce the Clean Air Act of St. Louis County, which prohibits cigar bars.
And
So the proposed legislation, as I understand it, is first off to amend the code to allow cigar bars, provided that the city council also adopts a Clean Air Act which exempts cigar bars, different than St. Louis County. And I'm not saying you can't do that, you can do that, but I don't want there to be any confusion about this. I am told, and I've been told this since 2012, that if the city of Florissant is less restrictive than St. Louis County, that St. Louis County can and will enforce their Clean Air Act legislation in the city of Florissant. And if you think about it, if in fact the city could avoid St. Louis County's Clean Air Act entirely, then you would adopt a Clean Air Act that said smoking is allowed everywhere. It's not exactly a Clean Air Act, but you understand my point. Or you could say smoking is not allowed in public buildings, but it is allowed everywhere else. As we all know, that's not the case. The city has advised many a bar or restaurant, many a business where public is invited that you cannot allow smoking, that it violates St. Louis County's Clean Air Act. This is the same thing where the city of Florissant cannot prohibit St. Louis County from enforcing its Clean Air Act. And for that reason, my advice as the city attorney for the city of Florissant is don't create a category of a special use for a cigar bar and then subsequently adopt a Clean Air Act legislation that exempts cigar bars from smoking, because, in my opinion, you'll be giving Mr. Bolson and others the wrong impression, because St. Louis County has the authority to come in and issue citations and shut them down. And I know it's complicated, and I know there's confusion on it, but I'm absolutely confident, because again, I've talked to the county counselor, who is the advisor to St. Louis County, and he's confirmed everything I've told you.
Now, when we went to the health department, the health department was the very people.
Sir, can you get with the microphone,
I'm
or
sorry.
either take the microphone out, or?
I like to walk
There
and
you
talk.
go. I
There
can
we
see
go.
that. You just go
There we
ahead
go.
and take it with you.
I like to walk and talk a little bit.
Okay.
Now, when we went to the health department, those very people directed us to the licensing people
I understand.
several times. When we went down there several times about smoking inside. Now, I understand about 605 being in place.
Correct.
And it adopted saying no cigar bars or no smoking in public places since 2012.
Correct.
But since 2012, there's been multiple cigar bars open up across the county. Currently to this day, after 2012, our neighbors in Ferguson, not too far away, and they're all smoking inside.
I'm aware of one in Ferguson.
Oh, it's a whole lot
Here's
more
what
than
I-
that.
Here's what I would recommend, that if you want to get an opinion from the St. Louis County Counselor saying that the city of Florissant has the authority to exempt cigar bars and that St. Louis County will not in any way take any issue with that. In other words, you can go on and conduct your business and St. Louis County won't bother you, then my advice to the city council is consider that. If on the other hand, if St. Louis County puts in writing what they've told me, it would be an exercise in futility.
I understand that. My only question is, there's over 20 or more cigar bars that's currently operating that St. Louis County has not done a thing to. And they've been operating for the last 2 to 3 years, and they haven't enforced one single code or enforcement against them.
I believe every
Not
word.
one.
I believe every word you're saying. You're an honorable man. I'm not disagreeing with you. And if St. Louis County, if they've altered their position, then okay, we need to be fully advised of that. I'm just telling you what I was told by the county counselor's office. And if in fact there's something in writing from the Department of Health and/or the county counselor that says we will turn a blind eye to St. Louis County's Clean Air Act when it comes to cigar bars, then this council can consider that. But until that occurs, my advice remains the same.
And only thing we asking for is a fair opportunity
Understood.
to compete with every other county and municipality out there that has cigar bars or cocktail lounges, wherever it is that they're smoking. And we have many of them already smoking here in Florissant already, many places. We just want that same opportunity.
My position is, and I appreciate that very much, my position is that as the city attorney, you need to follow the law.
I
And
agree.
the law is that smoking is not allowed in public places, including bars, restaurants, including public facilities, and according to St. Louis County's Clean Air Act, it's not allowed in any cigar bars unless you were in existence prior to 2011.
Mr. Hanky?
Yeah, hi. Tony? We've had a few conversations now on this, and you know I fully support you, and the
I know
rest of
it.
the council fully supports you. But I think Mr. Hessel's advice is real, and I just told you in the last week, you could open tomorrow as a bar.
We
You
know
already
that.
got your license, and
We know that.
open the doors.
We're going to do that.
Start bringing some money in,
We're
and
going to do
maybe
that.
we'll let this dust settle and see where this ends up. But my advice to you is get your doors open, start bringing some money in, because I sympathize with you. I want you, you're in my ward, I want your business, I want you to be successful, and I don't want this to stop you. You've got money, you guys have money in this, start getting some back in, and we'll let these chips fall where they may over time. But having said that, we pay Mr. Hessel good money for good advice. He gives us good advice, and we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't pay somebody for the advice and not take it.
I understand that.
All right.
And we have invested a lot of money, and we'll continue to invest. But I can also promise you that we're not happy,
I know.
because when we started this journey down this road, we were under the impression that we would be able to move the needle to hopefully, we wasn't promised anything,
Right.
but we were given some good impressions that we'd be able to move the needle to set up as a cigar bar. Because if me and my partner would have known from the beginning that we were going to come in and be just a cocktail lounge, and we approved cocktail lounges in Florissant every other week. We got them on every corner. We didn't want to be a cocktail lounge. And I guarantee you, once we get up and going, and we're going to be very successful because of the following that we have, we will move our business somewhere else. Because we didn't come here to be a cocktail lounge. We wanted to be different from everybody else. And that's why we made the initial investment. And now we're very unhappy. And I kid you not, we're very unhappy with the way things are going. But we're going to do business because we promised that to the city. And we're going to do that. But we will move our business somewhere else.
Sorry to hear that.
The other thing I'll offer, Mr. Bolson, if I can be of any assistance in contacting the county counselor's office to sort this out to your satisfaction, I'm happy to assist you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parson?
Yes, Madam President. I just have a question. I don't attend cigar bars. I don't smoke cigars. But you mentioned that there was multiple ones. You know about 20 that's in St. Louis County that were established after the Clean Air Act.
Yes.
Have you approached that or provided that information to St. Louis County and gotten a response from them in regards to why those places were open?
No, I have not taken those places to St. Louis County because I didn't think that was my duty to do that. And I don't want to go in and say, hey, we can't smoke, so I'm going to step on everybody else. Right. All of y'all can't smoke, so I'm not going to do that.
All right.
That's not what I'm here for.
I guess I'm just really trying to figure out a reason or see if it's going to be enforced or not. I know you've invested a lot of money into this, and I am definitely sympathetic with your problem. I have no problems with you guys having a cigar bar here in Florissant whatsoever. But it just has to be done the right way. And if it's going to be
it's not an issue.
As long as it's done in the right way, I'm totally in favor of it. So.
If I may, Mr. Parson, the only one I'm aware of is the one in the city of Ferguson, and I talked to Michelle Bogan about that one, and she said, oh yeah, I issued that certificate. And then I asked her to call Mike Schuman, the county councilor, and talk to her about it. She hasn't gotten back to me, but I'll follow up with her as well, because your point's very well taken. I understand your frustration. I appreciate it. Trust me, I don't like delivering bad news. I really don't.
I understand, but we came here in good faith.
I know you
invested
did.
a lot of money because we wanted to be a vital part of this city, and we know we're going to be very successful. And trust me, we've been in Florissant, me and my wife been in Florissant over 20 years with AM Healthcare. We believe in this city. We had our business here for over 21 years, and we wanted to do more business in this city. Now you're forcing me to go somewhere else, and that's not what I want to do. I like this city. I like what it stands for. Me and my partner both. His family is here too. They've been here a long time. We don't want to go anywhere else, but we're forced to look somewhere else now.
Yeah, as far as being forced, I'm really upset about this too, and I know I talked to Mr. Hessel at length about this position, but as far as you moving somewhere else, other than St. Louis County, I think St. Charles County has a ban too. Where would you go that you wouldn't run into the same? Ferguson
begged us to come there. They said, come over here. You can open up, you can smoke inside, you can do business.
Have you discussed it with their owner on how exactly that they did it, and is it that they're just not being caught?
I discussed it with the same person that has Phil Lung's job over in Ferguson. And he said, hey, they did a special use for them the city did a special use for them to smoke inside, and that's what they did. And he said, hey, if you guys came over here, we would do the same exact things for you. We won't do it for anybody else, but we will do it for you guys if you came over here because you want to invest your money and get going. And I told him, well, no, that's not what we want to do. We want to stay in Florissant.
Right, I understand that, but so it would have been under special circumstances, right? So they would only offer it to you and no one else? I don't know if that would be opening a can of worms for us if we did it for one and didn't do it for every other one that came in. Correct?
Correct. And if I may, my partner, Apollo Carey, is the city attorney for the city of Ferguson. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch up with him because he was doing other things and I was as well. But I will meet with Apollo Carey, the city attorney for the city of Ferguson, talked to him about it as well. I'm like you. I didn't want to point any fingers at another cigar bar
Yeah, I
and
don't
get
wanna do
them in
that.
trouble. That's not
not what I'm here
trying to
for.
do. No, me either. So I will again promise you, I will talk to Ferguson's city attorney. And my suggestion to the city council is to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks and allow me to do further investigation, either with or without you. I'm happy to cooperate with you in any way that I can.
Thank you.
So we can sort it out. He raises a very good point. Now, again, I'm told by the county councilor that they must be just turning a blind eye to that. I find that hard to believe, but everybody, this was occurring on when we talked, Gerard, on Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So I haven't spent weeks, I've only spent a couple of days delving into this in detail. I'm pretty familiar with it because of how long I've been dealing with it. But I'm happy to find, I hope and pray that I can come here 2 weeks from now and say, I missed something, I made a mistake, whatever it is, and that we can move forward.
Thank you.
And as you know, I'm not afraid to say I made a mistake. We'll correct it.
Okay, let me add more. Mr. Caputa?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, Anthony, you mentioned that there's at least 20 other bars. Where are they actually located throughout the county? Do you have any specifics?
Sunset Hills, what a Creve Coeur, where, Chesterfield, South County.
You got one Missouri just opened up one a couple of weeks ago. One Missouri, that's Santino's.
Yep, Santino's.
I'm sorry, where was that one located?
Santino's down in South County.
Oh, in South County?
You got another one, you got St. Louis 66, which is on Lindbergh, and that's at Lindbergh, right at Lindbergh and 55. You got, Sunset Hills. You got St. Louis 94. St. Louis 94 is in Creve Coeur. You got, what's the other one? Smoking Hot Cigars, Chesterfield. Smoking Hot Cigars is not even a year old. Which one? There's a bunch of them. We can go down the list. And this list that I'm giving you is also a list that Lum pulled up and went down the list and told us that he had checked all these places. These places actually smoke at every one of them. And some of these places are not even a year old.
Are these private clubs open to the public? Are they just regular public liquor
Yeah,
stores?
yeah, they open to the
Do
public.
you want to come up to the mic, please, just
Yeah,
so I
they're
can
open to
get
the
you
public.
on mic? Thank you.
Yes, sir. These are not private clubs. All these places are open to the public.
But they're not considered a private club?
They're not considered private clubs. They're considered cigar bars.
Is there any possible way you can get us a list of these bar and restaurants?
Absolutely.
I would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I think Mr. Lum
Thank
has
you.
them. He's correct. I think Mr. Lum has them.
Mr. Lum has them because he
Mr.
pulled them
Lum
up and
has
showed us.
them?
He showed them to us about 3 weeks ago.
You do, Mr. Lum, you do have copies of all the other ones throughout the county?
Part of the research I did for this petition to change the zoning code was to do some research and come up with the list that I could find, and all the ones that were named were on that list. Also got the email that Mr. Hessel brought up, and so it became a chicken or egg issue, sort of, to us, because we had somebody at the county saying that that the city had the authority, adding to the confusion and to the confusion of the applicant, and all these other cigar bars that were in operation. So we went ahead with the petition for adding the special use.
Could you get us a copy of the
Yes.
rest of all these other?
It's on my
Other
copy of my
places?
staff report, sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanky?
Yeah, Joni, this public hearing, while we can maybe close the public hearing this
I'd
evening.
suggest you continue it so we get
We'll
more
continue,
information.
because we weren't gonna have a first reading on it, so, but we'll continue. I think maybe that would probably be the best thing to do. We'll continue this public hearing to next meeting, and we'll go back to what I said, maybe to close this issue for now, is get your doors open, and hopefully we get a resolution that works for everybody on this. That's all I
Thank
can
you.
say.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, Tony, I just want to add, you do know that all of us are on board with you. I mean, every council person up here wants to see this happen just like you do.
And we definitely appreciate it. We do. And I know you've been supporting us all the way, well as Gerard and Tim and Jeff, a bunch of people. And I appreciate it. I really do.
I would like to speak. I'm Anthony Bolson's wife. And as reading the 605 rules and regulations, it says there can be a designated area. So
Can you, I'm sorry, can you?
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Now I can.
What I propose to Mr. Lum, that we have a designated area inside the lounge that allows people to be able to smoke, but the doors are open where there's air ventilation, there's clean air coming in to apply with the Clean Air Act. So he said, with that being said, there's a possibility that we could possibly do that with closing off certain areas where we're allowed to smoke, but as long as it's towards the patio area, that allows us to have the cigar smoking and not have, you know, the people being, you know,
Right. That there is a
subject to the
non-smoking
smoking.
section.
So it says designated areas, so it just determines on how you interpret the regulations. So that is really important how we interpret it. And it says designated areas.
Right. Okay.
Madam Chairman, if I comment on that one, we already have a couple of businesses who take advantage of that exception. One is Mattingly's, the other is Gedemeyer's, where they have a designated room for smokers that would not make it necessary for the entire establishment to obtain a special use as a cigar bar. It would actually work with a cocktail lounge also, but they would have to get plans approved by St. Louis County as a quote, unquote, outdoor smoking room in which the windows are a certain percentage open that they approve.
Right. I don't know the law by fact, but I know both establishments have doors that are closed to that, and I'm trying to picture, you know, that your establishment, and if a door from the outside that no smoke could get into the other place, if that's, you know, can do, because that was one of my thoughts too, is those two do it. I'm sure there would be a way maybe on the back patio that there would be some enclosures and smoke eaters or whatever they are. So I didn't know if that was a possibility too that you could do.
That's always been an option.
Okay, good.
But I heard that they wanted to do something bigger and better than that. And
Right.
that's what I was addressing.
Okay. Mr. Hanke?
Would it be proper at this time that I make a motion to continue this public
Yes.
hearing to the next meeting?
To the next meeting, which would be March 26th? Is that when it is? Okay. Seconded by Mr. Shildroth? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so I'm not closing, we're just continuing, and we're going to see you on the 26th, and hopefully with some good answers.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. We have public hearing number 1803-011.
In accordance with Section 405-310 of the Florissant Zoning Code, a public hearing will be held by the City Council, Florissant, Missouri, and Council Chambers, 955 Rue St. Francois, on Monday, March 12, 2018, 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition: to authorize a special use permit to Flower Valley Group, LLC, DBA Privileged Lounge, to allow for the operation of a cocktail lounge in a B3 zoning district for the property located at 129 Flower Valley Shopping Center. Citizens will have an opportunity to be heard. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or 839-5142 TDD.
Thank you. Is the petitioner present? Good evening. Hi. You want to pull that mic
Yeah,
close
sure.
to you? There you go. Thank
My
you.
voice carries. Hello to everyone. Yeah, I'm Diane McNutt, and I'm ready to put some business
Okay, you want to tell
into
us about it?
Florissant. Yeah, it's called Privilege.
Privilege?
And it's a cocktail lounge, plain straight cocktail lounge.
Okay.
Okay. And just asked them for permission to help bring in revenue and comfort for a amount of people to Florissant area.
Is there going to be music at this establishment?
Yes, there is.
Okay, do you know bands, DJ, jukebox? or all of the above?
DJ, I know for one, and maybe a small band. Okay.
And how long are they going to be playing? Like, what, do you know how long you're going to open till, that the music's going to be playing?
Actually, until 12 or 1 a.m. The band may not play that long, but maybe I was like music.
Right, I'm worried about, because down the road, I mean, there's another one on tonight that we're going to be, I mean, their music is stopping at 10, so that's what I didn't,
Oh, okay.
I'm just questioning what time and things like that for music, just not to be, trying to treat you both pretty well the same.
Like I was saying, till music, like just music, DJ, whatever, and then maybe a cutoff for the band,
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, most bars and establishments, closing time's usually at 1 o'clock. The bands play, say 2-3 hours. And then there's an in-between time before the closing, so the band can get their stuff out, the drinks can stop, and that's what we're getting at with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually trying to say.
Right,
And then,
They'd be out.
one thing we try to push on our new businesses here, which we're glad you're coming here, is trash cans on the inside and outside. So when people are coming in and out after a couple drinks, that they're putting their cans, paper products, any of that
I'm
stuff,
gonna make
you
sure
guys.
of that. I can't
So it ain't getting
stand
over the parking lots, guys, and then it draws heat on us, and it just makes our city look terrible too. So
Yes.
if you could please remember that, we would appreciate it.
I agree.
Another thing I want to
Wholeheartedly.
push on you too, we have our food pantries right down the street. It's called Team. So I would appreciate you keep that in mind. We say this to all businesses, or I sure do.
Okay.
We always got somebody hungry down there morning, noon, or night, so if you could kick a little bit down there, that would help us too.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I know what you're talking about.
With
too.
that, alcohol won't be leaving the premises, right?
No.
Thank you. So I just didn't want the trash. Let me
No,
have
no,
the
we're-
trash, you take the trash.
It's very mature. I have a very mature following, so I think it'll be good for Florissant, really.
Mr.
my
Parson?
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. McNutt, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How are you this evening?
Okay, good. How are you?
Okay, I'm
Good.
doing fine. I just have a couple questions. One,
Sure.
Have you owned any cocktail lounges or clubs in the past, or do you currently have other locations?
I've had, in your location, matter of fact, 2 locations here in St. Louis. I've owned 2 beauty salons.
Okay. What about cocktail lounges, though?
No.
No, this would be the first one. Okay. Then my other question.
I'm running out.
I'm sorry?
No, I was running out with the hair, so yeah, I still
okay.
like to
I understand
keep
that.
business here. I've had it here.
And my other question is, are you planning on smoking cigars there? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that.
No
Don't answer
cigars,
that.
especially for
Don't
me.
answer. I actually got that.
No,
from him. So
you had to
I
get that
told
one
him
in,
to
didn't
joke.
you? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. No.
Are
It'll
you
be an
going to
ideal place. I
Are you going to be
just try to-
serving food?
No.
No food? So just alcohol, right?
So, Councilman, the band, I'm helping my mother out a little bit, so the band may play a couple of hours, if that, maybe from like 8 to 10
That's what he
or something
stated.
like that. So it won't play all night,
Right.
so maybe a couple
And the doors will be shut at that time, correct?
Right.
Well, the doors will be shut. She's trying to run her business from maybe 3 in the afternoon to maybe 12:30, 1 in the morning. So is with the band, as far as the band goes, it'll only be for a couple hours, maybe 8 to 9:30 or something like that, so it won't be going all night.
Right.
It's very expensive to run a band for 4 or 5 hours.
That's what
So-
Mr. Jones was saying. It's about what he was saying, maybe
Right.
2-3 hours. and
During
then
that
shut
time,
it
the
down.
doors will be closed.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. all
And most of the
doors
other
will be-
areas will be closed, shut down, so we're gonna keep it in, inside.
Mr. Shildroth?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Ms. McNutt. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
What days were you open? Saturday through, Monday through Saturday?
Monday
or-
through Sunday.
So 7 days a week?
7 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And it's open until 1 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
7 days a week?
Yes, yes. I think it'll be real profitable for us and for us. I had my salon 10 years out here in Florissant, so I think, you know.
Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this? Seeing none, Councilman Siam moves to close this public hearing, seconded by Mr. Parson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carrying. This public hearing is now closed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNutt.
All right, thank you.
Public hearing number 1803012.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the City Council of Florissant, Missouri, in Council Chambers 955, Rue St. Francois, on Monday, March 12, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition: to amend the zoning code to allow adult daycare as a special use permit in all B zoning districts. Citizens and parties of interest will have an opportunity to be heard at said public hearing. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or TDD 839-5142.
Is the petitioner present?
Good evening. My name is Vernita Lewis, and I am petitioning the council to allow adult daycares to be opened under special use permit in B1 zones. Right now, they're permitted in B3 zones, but I believe the language was changed in planning zone to just allow it in all the B zones.
Mr. Lum, are you coming up? Okay.
I think actually the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this applicant who had a pretty good,
You need to get in front of the mic.
we had a pretty good argument for logic as that child daycare centers are allowed in the B districts, and they were added a few years ago as a special use, but adult daycare was not, and found a location suitable, but the zoning code would not allow her to open up an adult daycare at that location, and it was in a B1 district. So this applicant suggested a special use for adult daycare in B1. However, I think the motion at Planning and Zoning was, in looking at all of it, they recommended to the council instead to allow adult daycare as a special use in all B districts, not just B1. That would accommodate this applicant as well as the other, anyone else who wanted to open an adult daycare in any of the B districts, because there's B1, 2, 3, and 5. There is a B4, but there aren't any properties in B4 any longer. So if there's any questions on that.
Mr. Parson?
Yes, Mr. Lum, I guess what I want to know, if you can answer, is there any negative reason why, or one issue that we should consider in this being part of all B zones?
With the proposal or in the recommendation by Planning and Zoning being that they be added as a special use, they would come before Planning and Zoning and the council anyway. planning and zoning really saw that as an advantage. Say, for instance, if an applicant came, like your business has younger adults with disabilities of a certain kind, and that might be different than if someone came forward with an adult daycare and they did offer services to folks who are caring for people with Alzheimer's. That'd be a totally different type of business. She's trying to train people to enter the workforce, and Alzheimer's is a completely different thing. It's to give people a break. So when it comes in as a special use, then all those factors come out, and it's not just a permitted use. So we didn't see any as far as that goes in the staff review when they did change the motion, and planning and zoning wanted it across the board. So no disadvantages really came up, if that's the question.
Yes, okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this? Hearing none, Councilman Caputa moves to close this public hearing, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Public hearing number 18-03012. Oh, shoot. I apologize. The next item on the agenda is old business. The first item under old business is second readings. We have substitute bill number 9339. Councilman Childrath moves to accept the substitute bill, seconded by myself. Discussion. Mr. Childrath?
Thank you, Madam President. I know the petitioner is here tonight, and I think they would like to show some of the changes they made to this really good project that's coming to our town. I'd like to suspend the rules so they can speak.
Right. I'll second that. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Thank
right.
you.
The floor is now yours, Mr. Bratcher.
Hi, my name is Greg Bratcher with BJC Healthcare, 4901 Forest Park Parkway. And I'll just tell you very quickly about, first to thank you all for the continuances and your patience, and then to tell you how we got here. And then Nancy Coleman here will tell you the 3 basic changes that are taking place. Oh, I moved away from the mic, sorry. So just before the holidays, we found out we had about a $7 million overage on this project. And that's concerning just by the number itself. Healthcare also is going through some changes, so that gives us concern. And unfortunately, just by the bad timing, our organization is at the beginning of a 2-year capital cycle. And so it's a bad way to start with a $7 million bust. So we went back and we evaluated. We spent January looking at this project top to bottom, backwards, forwards. There were some pretty radical ideas that were tossed out there, changes that we could make. But when I gave the heads up to our CEO, first, that we were going to have to come to this body and ask for postponements, he said there's 2 things he wanted to communicate to this organization. First of all, that no matter what, we are committed to the city, and we're committed to delivering a cancer center here with the things that we promised, the radiation oncology, the infusion, the counseling, the whole thing that comes with the Siteman Cancer Center. And the second thing he said was that, we have to be good neighbors. We have to consider that we want something that we can be proud of and the city can be proud of. And so we went from the $7 million bust to a $4 million bust to, I think, now a $3 million bust. And I think that we all have arrived at the changes and a compromise that we can all be proud of. Nancy's going to show you those changes.
Thank you.
I'll hold these up for you when you need.
Thank you.
Do you want to take that out? I mean, would that be easier if you're going to point on the screen?
Thank you.
Perfect.
So I'm going to show you 3 of our architectural changes that we've made to accommodate our budget. So I have up on the screen showing you the site plan with the planting plan that we originally presented. And if you notice, this area here is an area of our big change where we've taken some of the plantings that we've had around the site and around the building. And we have This is our proposed site plan change that we would like to submit. And if you see, what we've done is we've taken the trees and the evergreens and have located them in density around the edges of our neighbors' properties. And then we're keeping the existing planting plans that are on Graham Road. So that's our biggest planting site change. Architecturally, this is our rendering, and I've highlighted in yellow here a skylight that we're going to remove from the project. And so in elevation, what you'll see is that skylight will be removed, and we will have a screen wall that will hide our HVAC systems. So that's what the screen wall will look like. And then this is, again, the elevation with the screen wall. And then the third item is we always plan our site and cancer centers to have expansions. And so the back of the building is our expansion location. We have typically done these expansions, we plan them to occur within 3 to 5 years of opening. So we would like to propose that we use a product that is a spray EFIS material instead of doing the thin brick, which is what your architectural guidelines require.
Do you want to hand it to our city attorney?
And it would be
Thank
the
you.
same color as the
Pass
brick.
it.
It wouldn't be the white. It would look like this, and it would be scored to match the brick. So from a distance, you wouldn't architecturally tell the difference unless you had walked up to the building. But this will allow us simplicity for building that expansion in the future. And then the front of our building is unchanged. So those are our 3 changes.
And that gets dyed, the color of that?
Of the brick, yes.
Mr. Parson?
Yes. I just have a couple of questions. You mentioned that there's a change in the elevation from when you took out the skylight to having the screen wall.
Mhm.
Is the elevation approximately the same, or is it lower with the screen wall? I'm just trying to determine what the purpose for the switch.
Well, the
how that came
skylight,
about. Okay.
it's by removing it, it saves us money. So it was one
Okay.
of our value engineering items.
Okay. Okay. All right, so it didn't have anything to do with the elevation, and
No, sir.
neighbors or anything were complaining about the height or anything like that, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, okay. And you're switching from the brick just on the top part of the building?
It'll be on the back of the building,
On the back of the
actually.
building? Okay,
So on the site plan, it would actually be this area right here, these 2 walls.
okay.
Yep.
You can't see it?
You cannot see it from the road.
And you said that allows for expansion later if you wanted to do that?
That is correct.
Okay,
We have,
all right, that makes
This whole
sense.
thing can finish the curve, and then that's the infusion area expanded.
Right here.
Some other area part of it.
Okay, that makes sense, I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Shildroth?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Coleman, the retail space for possible retail is still in the new plan, correct? For the small retail?
We can have a discussion, but I don't think there's a surety of that.
No, I mean, the space is there. I'm not talking about a tenant right now. I'm just saying it's not out the door. Mm-hmm.
And we do, I did talk to our real estate, director of real estate, and, because we do own quite a bit of property, right across the street.
Right.
From here, and
Okay.
so we are interested in having some conversations about, possibilities on that site too.
Okay, because I know when the first go around, there was a little spot for retail. I mean, it's not a sticking point or nothing like that. I just wanted to know for. Okay.
We can have an offline discussion later.
That's
Our real
fine.
estate guy needs to
That's
check
fine.
out the details of this other property.
That's fine.
But it's not off the table.
I understand. The other thing, Mr. Parson asked that the change with that material will be, it's in the back of the property, and say down the road you do expand, in theory, you could go back to the brick with the expansion. Yep. I understand. I understand. Okay. That's all I have right now. Thanks.
Mr. Caputa?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, welcome again. You said on the back side you're going to replace the brick with a full EFS system?
Yes, this elevation will have a full EFS system.
Now, he was saying a spray-on EFS.
Or
I
trowel.
mean, a spray-on EFS and a trowel-on EFS is two different types of material and two different types of applications. I mean, they're different ways of putting.
Yes, I used a generic Kleenex term. It will be troweled on.
Okay. Oh, so you're going to use the full EFS system in the back with the.
We will.
Okay. Okay.
Our insurance company will
Okay.
require that.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Oh, we just approved
Yeah,
the
you just
amended
seconded
version.
the
I'm
amendment,
sorry, the
right.
substitute, thank you. Councilman Childrath moves for a third reading.
Second.
It was a
We
second.
accepted- we said
Oh, I
substitute,
jumped my paper.
You did. That's
I did,
okay.
I jumped, okay.
second
We're going to move for a second reading. I will second that discussion.
All those in
Wait just
favor?
a minute, Mr. Childrath? do you-
I would just wanted to check with the city attorney on the wording. We're good. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, good. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Go ahead and do your job.
An ordinance authorizing an amendment to B5 Ordinance 6836 to allow for an addition of the Siteman Cancer Center and parking in an existing B5 zoning district located at 1225 Graham Road.
Councilman Childrath moves for a third reading. I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing an amendment to B5 Ordinance Number 6836 to allow for an addition of the Siteman Cancer Center and parking in an existing B5 zoning district located at 1225 Graham Road.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hanky? Yes. Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Cyan? Jones? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff?
Yes.
Substitute Bill 9339 passes and becomes ordinance number 8392. Thank you both so much. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
There you go.
I would just like to thank Mr. Stock, the architect, Ms. Coleman, and Mr. Bratcher for their hard work on this project, and I look forward to coming to North County and coming to the city of Florissant. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill number 9363. Councilman Cyan moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Parson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing 32 hours of paid administrative leave per year for unclassified employees.
Councilman Hanky moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing 32 hours of paid administrative leave per year for unclassified employees.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hanky? Yes. Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Cyan? Jones? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shuldroff?
Yes.
Bill number 9363 passes and becomes ordinance number 8393. Substitute Bill number 9364. Councilman Childrath moves to accept the substitute bill, seconded by Mr. Hanky. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilman Childrath moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Hanky. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance to authorize a special use permit to SIP LLC to allow for the operation of a cocktail lounge for the property located at 1833 Dunn Road.
I will move for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Hanky. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance to authorize a special use permit to SIP LLC to allow for the operation of a cocktail lounge for the property located at 1833 Dunn Road.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Hearing none. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldorff.
Yes.
Substitute Bill number 9364 passes and becomes ordinance number 8394. Bill number 9365. Councilman Jones moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Caputa. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance to authorize a special use permit to MBR Management Corp., DBA Domino's Pizza, to allow for the operation of a carry-out restaurant with pickup window for the property located at 8428 North Lindbergh.
Councilman Caputa moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Childrath. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance to authorize a special use permit to MBR Management Corp., DBA Domino's Pizza, to allow for the operation of a carry-out restaurant with a pickup window for the property located at 8428 North Lindbergh.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Hearing none. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Henke?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Siam? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldorff.
Yes.
Bill number 9365 passes and becomes ordinance number 8395. Bill number 9365. Councilman Childrath moves for a second reading. 66. Moves for a second reading. Seconded by Mr. Parson. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
An ordinance to rezone the property located at 180 Dunn Road from B3 Extensive Business District to establish a new historic district, the John B. Myers House Historic District.
Councilman Childrath moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Hanky. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
An ordinance to rezone the property located at 180 Dunn Road from B3 Extensive Business District to establish a new historic, the John B. Myers House Historic District.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this? Hearing none. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldorff.
Yes.
Bill number 9366 passes and becomes ordinance number 8396. The next item on the agenda is new business. The first item is board appointments. Mr. Childrath?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to reappoint Walter Kaiser, 105 North St. Charles Street, to the Parks Board.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The appointment is made.
I have another one.
Okay.
Ms. Christine Kyle, 110 St. Pierre, to the reappoint to the Citizens Participation Committee.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The appointment is made.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Caputa?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I would like to reappoint Gene Nocamper to the Minimum Standard Boards of Appeals.
I'll second. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment is made.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone? Mayor?
Just a reminder, we'd appreciate some candidates for our Environmental Quality Commission. Thanks.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a resolution. We have resolution number 1001.
A resolution of the Florissant City Council and Mayor supporting the Powerplex Sports Complex proposed development at the St. Louis Outlet Center.
Councilman Caputa moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Shuldroff. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Resolution of the Florissant City Council and Mayor supporting the Powerplex Sports Complex proposed development at the St. Louis Outlet Center.
Do you want this? Councilman Caputa is moving for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Jones. Did you want to discuss? I do. Since we had discussion, yeah, didn't turn them on until late.
I sure did.
Mr. Shuldroff.
Thank you, Madam President. I attended a briefing of this proposal about 3 weeks ago at the Mills Mall with all the concerned parties. It was very extensive, very informative, and if the city of Hazelwood and St. Louis County can work out a couple of their minor issues, I'm sure that this project will go forward, and I'm hoping it. I'd like to thank Mr. Caputa for spearheading this resolution. The mayor also got involved with Councilman Harder, spoke with him because he's the champion of this effort for St. Louis County. It's in Sam Page's district, but it's a very important project, and it will mean great things for North County, and that people will come to our city to shop and dine, and it was a great presentation, and I hope this project comes to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Caputa?
Thank you for that, President. Yes, this proposed Powerplex, this would be excellent for the North County area. One thing about the Mills area, it has an advantage over the other area that they were looking at that's also in the race for this out in St. Peter's. I mean, they have to start from scratch with theirs. The Mills already has a lot of the structural in place. The utilities are in place, the sanitary, the storm, and there's so much more room out there for expansion at the Mills. This is basically a no-brainer for St. Louis County. You know, we encourage St. Louis County that their county council supports this so they can get they get everything worked out so we can get this going. I think it is construction jobs, permanent jobs. It would be just a tremendous benefit to the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, I just thought I'd shared it. I have reached out to the county executive several times on this. At the mayor's ball, we did work him over pretty good about it again. But he is aware that we are on board with this and want this to come to the Mills Mall, or the Outlet Mall, I should call it now. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor?
I received assume you may have also received positive signals from the county executive, so I'm hoping that results in a positive decision on the part of the county.
Roll call vote, please.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Siam? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff?
Yes.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this? Seeing none, clerk, please pull the council for the final vote.
Hanky? Yes. Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Siam? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff?
Resolution number 1001 passes. Bills for first reading. Bill number 9370.
Ordinance to authorize a special use permit to Flower Valley Group LLC, DBA Privilege Lounge, to allow for the operation of a cocktail lounge located at 129 Flower Valley Shopping Center.
Bill number 9371.
An ordinance authorizing an amendment to the zoning code, section 405-115, to allow for adult daycare as a special use in all B zoning districts.
Bill number 9372.
An ordinance amending the general fund budget to reflect $79,000 from asset forfeiture funds in escrow to forfeiture revenue account 014-34511 and to the forfeiture expense account 015-4961,000 for various police department equipment expenditures.
I will move for a second. Mr. Shildroth, seconded by Mr., you'll get the next one. Shildroth, discussion. I'd like to, at this time, I'd like to bring up the major and just explain this and how this all works to the audience and what we're purchasing, please. Good evening.
Doesn't sound like it.
I don't know. Yeah. It's not working? I don't know. They just tried to fix it. Talk loud.
Good evening. As you all are aware, the asset forfeiture account that we have is used for specifically in almost every circumstance, training and equipment that we would not normally ask for possibly at that particular time. So in this particular
Oh,
instance,
excuse me, Major. We have help.
There you go, sir. Got to be smarter than the microphone.
Never say never, huh?
There you go. There you go. So there's a few things that we're asking for specifically. Some of these surround our evidence procedures at the station. We're trying to do some things to make the evidence procedures that we currently have in place even better. We're asking for some cameras that are going to go in some specific areas. One facing the temporary evidence lockers, which is where the officers deposit their evidence after it's seized. And then we have two areas in the basement of the station, one where we take cars that need to be processed in a secure location. And then there's a larger cage where if items such as lawnmowers or bicycles are seized and they need to be held overnight until an evidence technician can come in. We're going to put a camera on each one of those so that we know when and where and who brings evidence into those specific locations. The file and queue evidence scanners. One of those is a replacement for a scanner that the ID division already has, and then the other is to, again, further tighten the procedures. Currently, officers barcode an evidence item, and it automatically places that item in a temporary evidence locker. It stays in there until the following morning when an ID officer comes in and removes it. What this will allow us to do is to scan that particular item into a specific locker. So again, it just further tightens the evidence procedures a little bit better. Gives a better chain of custody, which we think is important. Police motorcycle trailer. We don't currently have a trailer that the city owns for the motorcycles. Just today, we had a request to have our officers participate in the funeral of a deceased officer approximately 3 hours away from St. Louis. When we get these requests, in some circumstances, it's much easier to put these motorcycles on a trailer and trailer them as opposed to having these officers ride for extended periods of time. So again, I think a good use of the asset forfeiture equipment. Bulletproof vest and uniform equipment. We try to use asset forfeiture every year for the purchase of some bulletproof vests, some life-saving equipment for the officers. Again, it falls within the parameters of what this money is designated for, and we think it's a good use. Training, self-explanatory. Every year we take a look at our training budget, and as the year goes on, we evaluate and see what classes are coming forward. A lot of these times, these classes are announced throughout the year. And so it's just an additional amount to try to train the officers as best we can. Police vehicle emergency lights and equipment. We are going to add 2 take-home vehicles to the fleet this year. This is something that we did not initially anticipate, and this figure is to take care of that. The biggest portion of that figure is for the in-car radio system. As you know, we have a county-wide radio system. Very expensive piece of equipment, $6,000 to $7,000 just for the radio, and we're going to be short on one of those. The additional is for the lights and the necessary equipment to run that. And then last but not least, laser radar purchase and equipment. Some of our radar systems are getting older, and again, it falls into the parameters of things that we think are a good expenditure for the asset forfeiture money.
Mr. Jones.
Tim, I've seen our motorcycles on a trailer. We had to borrow that one?
We did, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Second.
Ordinance amending the general fund budget to reflect $79,000 from asset forfeiture funds in escrow to forfeiture revenue account 014-34511 and to the forfeiture expenditure account 015-49-61,000 for various police department equipment expenditures.
I will move for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Hanky. Roll call, please.
Hanky? Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Cyan? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff. Yes. An ordinance amending the general fund budget to reflect $79,000 from asset forfeiture funds in escrow to forfeiture revenue account 014-34511 and to the forfeiture expenditure account 015-49-61,000 for various police department equipment expenditures.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this? Hearing none, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hanky? Yes. Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Cyan? Jones?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
And Shuldroff.
Yes.
Bill number 9372 passes and becomes ordinance number 8397. Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is council announcements. Mr. Childroth?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to congratulate Nathan and Christine Bennett of Hendel's. The restaurant is featured in a nice story in St. Louis Magazine this month, and it talks about the restaurant and some of their dishes and their brunch in particular that I attended 2 weeks ago, and it was really good. So if you get a chance, please read that story in St. Louis Magazine about Hendel's. I am often asked, what is the hardest part of this job? And it's pretty easy to answer. The first thing is trying to please everybody, and you're never going to be able to do that. And the other hard part for me is meeting someone when you knock on doors and you get to be friends with them and they have you in their home for a soda or a cup of coffee or to get warm, and you get to know them and they pass away. Such is the case with Don Fossage and Harold Noss from Ward 5. Don was very active with his wife Rose at Sacred Heart Parish and St. Vincent de Paul Society and a team, and he passed away 2 weeks ago. Harold was a Navy veteran of World War II on the USS Cumberland Sound, and he was a retired Teamster from Local 688. And I went to his wake tonight before the meeting and talked to his family, and I'm going to miss them both. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Caputa?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, like I usually say, make sure you keep your firearms locked up, safe. Don't keep them in your car. 90%, 85% of all your crimes are done with stolen firearms. Make sure you keep your firearms secured. Ward 4 will be having a Neighborhood Watch Ward meeting coming up on Wednesday, March 28th. We will be having it right here in the council chambers. I'd like to congratulate Jana Elementary in the Hazelwood School District. They was recently recognized as a Missouri Exemplary School for Professional Learning Communities. This is for promoting culture, focus on collaborative learning while effectively using data to increase student achievement. Jana was one of only 20 schools throughout the state that was to receive this honor. So I would like to congratulate Jana School for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to team. It's about a street over from here. Everybody knows where it's at. Please stop by with some change or extra canned goods. I'd also like to let everyone know that Shackelford is finally coming to an end on the construction. Within the month, within next month's time, they will be asphalting down there. They have started tearing down the house that everybody thought was a bad house for a long time. They used that as an office. St. Louis County did in the contractors. They're starting to tear that down. And St. Louis County has some work to do on the other side, which is in Ward 1. So there will be some construction still going on there, but they will finish up with the road here within a month's time. They will start asphalting. I know there was a lot of complaints that the road is still messed up. It's because they didn't lay the last finished asphalt on top the concrete. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. Last week, I went back to school, and I was at both school districts. Hazelwood School District had an open house at McNair, which has a lot of, it's like on the border of Florissant and Hazelwood, but it has a lot of Florissant students and Hazelwood students. But they had a leadership open house. Matter of fact, Councilman Egan's wife, Kelly, works there. I was very impressed with the outgoing student body, the leadership. They kind of work in teams. It's a very encouraging process that they use at McNair, and I'm really looking forward for the rest of the school district to adopt what I saw at McNair School. Bright eyes, intelligent kids, engaging and explaining what they were doing. Now, I wasn't surprised to see the same thing at the STEAM Academy at the Florissant School District. A little bit older kids, very bright eyes, very into what they're doing over there, taking their studies very seriously. They even wear uniforms voluntarily. They look really spiffy. Really like what I see going on at the school. Both school districts are really on the move, folks. We are looking for lifeguards and playground leaders, and we're looking for summer help from, for our youth programs, especially at our pools and our summer daycare. So we're a little short on applications this year, so please call City Hall and get referred to our Human Resource Department to put those applications in. This Thursday, the council and I will be celebrating St. Pat's a little bit early with our seniors at the Egan Center. It's going to be from 10 to 2. I think it's probably sold out already, but it's going to be a very green event, and it's always a great time. Looking forward to seeing everyone there. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to the unit of the military that I served in. The Seabees were 76 years old last Monday. And then for Easter, we got a lot of Easter stuff going on. On March 23rd, we have the underwater egg hunt. I guess this is at the Egan Pool, so that's something different. Then we have egg decorating on Wednesday, March 28th. And we have Easter happenings on Saturday, March 24th. And we have spring break camp from March 19th to March 23rd. So call the Egan Center or the JFK Center for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. The next regular meeting for the City Council will be held on Monday, March 26, 2018. Councilman Haking moves to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Parson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for attending.